All right, joining me today is Quillan Salkilld, who fights Gage Young at Dana White's Contender Series Week 4 this Tuesday, September 3rd. So, Quillan, I wanted to start here because I start here with all of my Dana White Contender Series guests. Tell me the story about how you got the call, what your reaction was, how did it feel to know that you were going to be fighting in front of the boss?
Man, it was I kind of expected it, to be honest. This whole thing last year, I had an opportunity to fight on Road to UFC. That thing didn't go ahead, so I knew just with my name now being out there, one or two more fights back on the local scene, and I'd get the call up. And especially after my last performance, I was very confident that I was going to get an email. And shortly after my last bout, manager called me up and told me the good news, and then that I was going to be matched. And then it was like a few months later, or a couple months later, that I actually got an official date and opponent. And it was a good time.
Absolutely. And I know your teammate, Cody Hedon, who was on an earlier episode of Contender Series, he also got that call. Did you guys learn right around the same time? Did you know ahead of him? What was sort of it like while you were waiting for each other to both get on there?
Yeah, we found out about Cody about it was only like a week or 2 weeks after mine. So yeah, around roughly the same time where we're starting our journey at the exact same time together. It's gonna be a fun ride.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that too, like being able to get prepared for Contender Series, obviously not exactly the same weight class or anything like that, but being able to get prepared with somebody who's about to go through the same travel, the same everything else.
Yeah,
Did that make everything easier for you?
yeah, it did having Cody there in the gym sparring with him a lot. Like, yeah, we're not the same weight class, but he's surely the toughest round by far in the gym. I know if I get my rounds in with Cody, I'm very well prepared for any guy.
And obviously, you got to see him win the contract. So, give me a little bit of your emotions while you're watching him on TV, going through what you're going to go through on Tuesday. And obviously, like after that performance, we all knew it was happening. But
Yeah,
seeing the name called officially, how'd you feel about all that?
man, it was wicked. It got me super pumped up. At the same time, I didn't feel nervous like one bit. I knew like once the fight started, I was just like waiting for the end. I was just super confident in Cody's ability just to get the job done. I've zero doubt in my mind that he was gonna win and get that contract. And it was shortly after the fight started he got the job done. And after watching back home, it was in the morning, and I had to go and do my training, and it pumped me up for a really good session that day.
That's awesome
Yeah,
to hear. Now, obviously, you're not at home anymore. You're at Vegas because here we are talking. It's Friday before the Tuesday Contender Series. So tell me, how long have you been in Vegas? What was the acclimation of, changing time zones, obviously pretty drastically, like for you?
yeah. The time zone difference is mad. It's 15 hours behind home, so adjusting the sleep is it's hard, but I'm getting there now, and it's just super dry here. Like my mouth, my nose at night time is getting dry, but I'm used to the heat. Back home, it's it gets very hot during the summer. It's middle of winter at the moment, so it's good to feel that the bright sun, and the heat here feels very similar to at home.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, I know too, traveling with the weight cut for a lot of people is really tricky, and obviously a 14-hour difference. Long plane ride from there as well. How is your weight now that we're 4 days away from the fight itself?
Yeah, really good. Actually, lighter than I was. I have been my last few fights this far out. Like I'm actually almost there. I'm within 10 pounds already, so it's going to be a very smooth cut. And I think just with the travel, I was a bit what you call it, like cautious, extra cautious with what I ate because I wasn't like comfortable at home. So I think that just made the weight shed off just a lot faster than it usually would.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, obviously, that's the battle before the battle. So let's talk
Yeah,
about the one that we all really care about, and that's the
yeah.
fight with Gage Young. They come to you with a name, and obviously, you're all regional fighters, and this guy fights, halfway across the world from you, 14-hour difference from you. Did you know anything about him? And what was the learning process about? What was it like when you were learning about it?
Yeah, never heard of him. Obviously, being very very far away from each other, very different regions of fighting. Um, yeah, once we found out, I just had a look on YouTube, how to watch of his fights, and just did my little study and little put a little game plan in my mind, and yeah, that's about it. And ever since, just watching his fights, his last mainly his last three. I don't watch anything that's too old. I think that's a bit outdated now, especially with like fighting another young guy. We tend to we improve a lot on our fights. So watching the last two or three are probably the most accurate ones to get a good read off of.
And now, obviously, when you're watching his fights, you can see he comes with a very wrestle heavy style, right? Like he's a guy who's a grinder. He's not out there to, throw bombs and turn this into a war. What were sort of your thoughts about going on to a show that is all about impressing people and fighting a guy whose style is, maybe not the most visually appealing style?
It's fine by me. I fought a guy like him before, and I don't think he's as say like tough and durable as the guy I fought. I went 5 rounds. I've proven that I can hang with a guy putting on like wrestling pressure, and I put that wrestling pressure right back. Fight fire with fire. It's gonna be. I think there's gonna be some really cool scrambles in this fight. It's gonna be like fun grappling exchanges, which yeah will be exciting. Sometimes it takes. I find, especially with the wrestling and the grappling, takes two to tango. So if one person's on top and the other guy on bottom is not really trying hard to escape an advanced position, that can make it look boring. But if the guy on bottom is fighting hard to get back up, it makes the guy on top fight hard to stay in a dominant position, and then fun exchanges that are visually appealing, are made. It takes two to tango with the wrestling.
I like that. I like that. And it pretty
Yeah.
much leads me perfectly to my last question, which is I love to end these things with a prediction. So tell me, we're 4 days away. How's this one end come September 3rd?
Man, I kick him in the head and he goes down. That's my prediction.
I love it. I love it. All right, fans. This has been Quillan Salkilld, who fights Gage Young at Dana White's Contender Series Week 4. Once again, that fight, September 3rd. Quillan, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.